Greetings everyone, my name is Dominic and today you're tuning in to the Comic Book Report, where we review comic books and graphic novels so you can get an idea of what to read. And we've reached a new month, which means it's time to look back and check out our May Comic Book Haul 2023. And while I have a handful of great books I'm excited to talk about today, I did want to take a moment and mention our channel sponsor, OrganicPriceBooks.com. If you're looking to pick up your own comic book collected editions, I always encourage you to check them out. You can even use my code, TheComicBookReport, at checkout to receive $2 off of your order. Please note if you use my affiliate link or code to make a purchase, I will earn a small commission, but it's a great way to support our channel. Thank you so much for considering. Now, let's get started on our May comic book haul. First on our haul today, the free comic books I picked up for Free Comic Book Day 2023. Now, if you've been a follower of my channel for a while, you would have seen me drop this video at the beginning of May. I had an opportunity to go to 2 different comic book stores with my son this year to pick up some free comics. Absolutely excited to have gone and done that this year. I've had an opportunity to go the last few years they've held Free Comic Book Day. It's a really fun way to go see your local comic shops, support their business, and generally engage with the greater comic book community. I even had an opportunity to meet and talk with some comic book creators at one of my local comic shops. It was a ton of fun. If you'd like to see my full coverage of these books and my experience at Free Comic Book Day 2023, I highly encourage you to check out the video I posted last month. I'll try to link it to this video, but generally, what a great day. I'll just keep flipping through these single issues I picked up. You'll see at the end here I have my Star Trek issue signed by the co-writers. A really great day. Again, I go a little bit more into these books when I go over my Free Comic Book Day video. I'm not a huge fan of single issues, so I actually haven't really delved into any of these issues this month, but I was still happy to pick them up, especially for free. My son really loved that Spidey and His Amazing Friends comic book. We've talked about it all month. I also got a cool indie trade paperback collection, black and white, of this series called Scruffy Puppies. Of everything I picked up at Free Comic Book Day, this is one of the most interesting to me. I couldn't believe they had a little graphic novel for free. It just looks like an interesting kind of dystopian concept. I haven't checked this out yet, but hopefully I can sometime in the future. On the off chance you've read Scruffy Puppies, please let me know in the comments, or generally if you'd like me to do a review. Again, I'm kind of intrigued by this. I was stoked to get it for free, and at any rate, this was a quick flyby of some of my pickups during Free Comic Book Day 2023. Next on our haul, Avengers Disassembled by Bryan Michael Bendis and David Finch. Now, this was another pickup I had from Free Comic Book Day. Of course, I bought this at one of my local comic shops. This is a book I've been wanting to read for some time, particularly after revisiting the House of M. This is basically the prelude and everything that kind of leads into the events of House of M. Bafflingly enough, it was not included in the House of M Omnibus that I read and reviewed like a month or two ago, so I knew that this was a story I eventually wanted to read, and I found it for a good price at this local comic shop. Had to pick it up. I reviewed this book on my channel recently, but this was just a triumph. And you know, it's really only about 4 issues, give or take, but it's really outstandingly done. What a fantastic Avengers story. I don't think you need to know a ton to really enjoy it. The art from Finch, as always, is absolutely fantastic. Again, for people that haven't really read Avengers Disassembled, it's basically the Avengers' worst day. They just basically go from one crisis to another. They deal with tragedy and loss. There's a ton of great action, mystery, intrigue, and it all culminates with a very stunning climax that again leads really well into the House of M event. That was another favorite of mine, but I think this prelude absolutely should have been included in that House of M omnibus, and I would consider this really essential reading for anyone who does want to read House of M. I know for myself, I wish I would have read this before reading House of M, because I think it would have made all the character interactions pay off that much more. Granted, the event and the omnibus do a great job of kind of filling in the details you need regarding Avengers Disassembled, but to read it for myself across those roughly 4 issues, it was really just wonderful. I absolutely loved this book. I'm so happy I was able to finally pick it up this last month. Such a stunning read. For a small trade paperback collection, I was just so pleased with it. A great story with some gorgeous art. Next on our haul, Starbrand Volume 1. This is from Marvel's New Universe line. This is a really interesting pickup for me. I know that this was written mostly by Jim Shooter. We have some Roy Thomas in here, illustrated predominantly by JR, of course, John Romita Jr. This is a title that was actually recommended to me by someone in the comments months and months ago. If you're still watching the channel, please definitely sound off in the comments. It'd be great to reconnect, especially now that I'm trying to read Starbrand. For those that don't know, this is again part of Marvel's New Universe line. It's a really interesting time in Marvel's history that I'll try to go into more extensively should I ever give this book a review. But essentially, this is a superhero narrative about a young man who receives basically a brand that looks like a star on his body from some kind of extraterrestrial presence. With this brand, he inherits all of these incredible superpowers and strength, and he's essentially like a chosen intergalactic kind of weapon with this star brand he now possesses, and he's basically just going through all of these misadventures. It's a really interesting concept that, again, someone in the comment section here recommended it to me. I was kind of fascinated by it. I had seen this collection around for sale, and I thought, this might be something worth checking out. This could very easily be one of those random hidden gems I find myself enjoying. It's a different take at kind of a cosmic Marvel kind of idea. I've never really explored Marvel's New Universe, so this seemed like a fun pickup. However, what really pushed me over was when I finally started to read Jonathan Hickman's Avengers run. There was definitely some nods to Starbrand, I will say, without going into too many spoilers. And the fact that Hickman draws in this kind of Starbrand idea, I definitely wanted to go back to the source material and check out what this was all about. Now, I've read maybe the first issue of this collection so far, so I still have a ways to go, but so far so good. It's really interesting and something I'm really happy I picked up. Next up, we have the Batman by Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo Omnibus Volume 2. This was a much sought after pickup for me. I know last month I picked up the Volume 1, and this Volume 2 I ordered for myself from Organic Price Books. I actually have an unboxing video I filmed for this omnibus that I think I actually might release after this haul video just based on my scheduling, so stay tuned for that if you'd like to know a little bit more about this volume and see the incredible packaging from OrganicPriceBooks.com. But anyway, this is a book I've wanted for some time. The Scott Snyder, Greg Capullo Batman run overall is my favorite Batman comics run I've ever had the pleasure of reading. I had the standard size hardcovers for some time, the last several years, and I always hoped to upgrade. And after picking up Volume 1 last month, I knew Volume 2 should hopefully follow. So happy I finally took the dive, and now I have the complete Scott Snyder, Greg Capullo proper Batman run in this oversized hardcover omnibus format. I really like this edition. This has stories like The Endgame, Bloom, and they even have Last Night on Earth, which was such a fun addition to this omnibus. I love that little kind of short mini-series from Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo. I actually reviewed that independently on the channel as well. Just some great stories in here. I know a lot of people favor the front half of the Snyder-Capullo Batman era just for the quality of stories, things like Court of Owls, Zero Year, things like that, and I definitely agree, but I think there's still some real gems at the back half of their Batman run, and again, I'm just so excited to have it in hardcover format. Look at this artwork throughout. We have some other artists too do different kind of issues and side stories, but all really good stuff. What a great book. And hey, if you're watching this and you're enjoying the video and you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, I always do videos like this, comic book reviews, and recently I'm even getting into list kind of top 10 videos. So if you haven't yet, please subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for considering. Now let's continue with today's haul. Next from our May haul, Superman by Peter J. Tomasi and Patrick Gleason Omnibus from DC Comics. So I also picked up their Batman and Robin Omnibus last month, and I knew that there was kind of a matching set here with this Superman Omnibus, and frankly, I was such a sucker for what I've read so far of their Batman and Robin era that I thought it was time I gave a chance to their Superman run. I'm a huge fan of Superman, but I've been really slacking on modern Superman stories, and I heard such fantastic things about this run. Like the Batman and Robin series, I know they really like to stress the father-son dynamics. This time time between Clark Kent and his son John, and I just wanted to delve into these stories. I love the artwork of Patrick Gleason, and I heard that he really gave a fresh take to Superman, stressing that father-son dynamic and just so many of the attributes that make Superman so great as a character. I know a lot of people that fell back in love with Superman or point to this run as a way to say, this is why Superman is still relevant, this is why he's the greatest of all time, things like that. When I heard such great glowing reviews and had a couple other trusted recommendations, I knew that eventually I'd want to check it out. I had some money left from my birthday, and I went ahead and just ordered this omnibus, and wow, I was not dissatisfied. I am still making my way through this gigantic omnibus, but what I've read so far, I get what the hype is all about. I love the characterization of John Kent here, the kind of Superboy, and how he looks up to his dad. I like seeing Clark juggle both Superman and family roles in this series. I think it's an added layer that feels so at home in a Superman book, even though I've never really seen it before. Again, the art from Gleason is absolutely breathtaking throughout, and it really is a kind of spectacle and scope to this book that really just screams Superman. If you've read this run, let me know in the comments what you think of it. Again, so far I'm loving it. Hopefully one day I'll get a review for it on the channel. Next on our haul, Avengers by Jonathan Hickman Omnibus Volume 2. I just mentioned the Hickvengers run earlier in this video when I talked about Starbrand, and that is because I'm still actively reading the Volume 1 Omnibus for this Hickman Avengers era. So far, really liking this title as well. I will say that so far I was a bit more captivated by his run on Fantastic Four, but this Avengers run so far is still one of my favorite Avengers runs of all times that I've had the pleasure of reading. Because I've so enjoyed Jonathan Hickman this last year or so, this Avengers run was a no-brainer. When I heard they were reprinting it, I saved up my money and pre-ordered these sometime a few months ago, so this finally came in upon release. I have yet to delve into this Volume 2. As I mentioned, I am still reading Volume 1, so even as I flip through, I'm trying not to look too closely, hoping that I don't have any spoilers. My understanding is that this again continues his run through Avengers, leading right up to his Secret Wars event. I did review Secret Wars on my channel. I thoroughly enjoyed that book, and I'm so excited to see how this Avengers run all culminates in that story arc. In general, his approach to Avengers, something that I've really liked, is the gigantic roster of Avengers we actually get. There's this really kind of elegant design they have for this run that I see even in this Volume 2, where we have a list of Avengers, and on each kind of cover or after the cover, before the story really starts, we have a page of kind of all the Avengers, their icons or symbols shown, and their names, and we have highlighted which Avengers are showcased in each individual issue. It's a great way, again, to see that growing roster of Avengers and which characters we're going to get to see in each given issue or storyline. To me, this seemed just like a fantastic visual way to showcase the impressive ensemble of characters we have throughout the Hickman Avengers run. I think for people that like the Avengers and the Marvel Cinematic Universe, you would definitely enjoy reading some of Hickman's era of Avengers. It feels very cinematic in its scope, and the storyline is really epic. I love the characters we get, a lot of fan favorites here. Next on our haul, Spider-Man 2099 Omnibus by Peter David from Marvel Comics. I will admit this is the longest I have ever waited for a book pre-order. I think I ordered it sometime in the summer of 2022. This book was delayed, canceled, picked back up again, delayed again. So to finally have it in my hands is really just such a joy. I'm so thankful to have this run. I was already fairly familiar with Peter David, and I've read some of the early issues of Spider-Man 2099 in the past. I'm a big fan. I love this character. I love the idea of this character, and I think the visual style of his costume is just gorgeous. And over this last year or so, I've become an even greater fan of Peter David, having enjoyed a lot of his run on X Factor I've been making my way through. So suffice it to say, I'm actually even more excited to check out this book than when I first pre-ordered it, and I can't wait to dive in. We have the entire original 2099 Spider-Man run, and I love the way they reprinted this. I think everything looks gorgeous in this oversized format, and I'm so happy to have this book in my collection. I know that this was a big whale for many collectors out there, and this was a long anticipated pre-order for a lot of friends of mine in the community. Shout out below if you've gotten this omnibus or the direct market cover, or if generally you're a fan of Spider-Man 2099. I think the release of this book is definitely appropriate, given that the Across the Spider-Verse movie is about to release in theaters at the time of this recording. What a great time to be a fan of Spider-Man 2099, to see him on the big screen and now in omnibus format. This book, again, looks absolutely stunning. I love what I've read of Peter David, as I mentioned, and I can't wait to read more of his incredible Spider-Man 2099 run. This is, of course, a future vision of Spider-Man, not with Peter Parker, but with a character named Miguel O'Hara, who has the kind of mantle of Spider-Man in this kind of dystopian corporate future. A really fun concept. This book was created years and years ago now, but I think it's still going to hold up a lot. I love kind of older generations versions of the future, equipped with fully flying cars, things like that. What a fun read. Next book I was really happy to get a copy of this month, The Thing by John Byrne Omnibus. Being a really big fan of the Fantastic Four recently, I've been making my way through the John Byrne era of that title, picking up both of the omnibus reprints of that Fantastic Four run, and I knew that John Byrne did a Thing standalone solo series during his time on Fantastic Four, and I heard that they were collecting it in an omnibus that was released a few months ago. This book has been on my wish list for a little while now, and I'm so happy I finally got a copy. I really, really love The Thing. He's one of my favorite members of the Fantastic Four, and so far I've really loved what I've read of the Byrne era. I'm a fan of John Byrne in general, and to see what he's done with this Fantastic family, I get why it's such a classic run. I'm really excited to see how he incorporates that kind of feel in this Thing solo book, or maybe he doesn't. I haven't really delved into this yet, but to have a book that's kind of a companion piece to this John Byrne Fantastic Four, it just makes me really excited. I also just finished the original Marvel Secret Wars, and I know that this book takes place right around when that occurs, and there's some elements in this Thing solo series that are heavily impacted by what happens in Secret Wars, so I can't wait now that I've finished that to read this book and just get a better feel for how everything fits together from this era in Marvel Comics. This book is just huge. I love that it collects this Byrne era Thing series, and I'm just really intrigued to see what this kind of spin-off series is all about. I know the Thing kind of had its own solo adventures throughout Marvel 2-in-1, which I believe predated this Thing series. I haven't really read any of that. I hope it's not essential. Like I said, I'm mostly just interested to see how this serves as a companion to the John Byrne Fantastic Four era. So I hope there's some braiding or kind of continuity things between those two series. I'll let you know as I review some of these books in the coming months, hopefully. But so far, really thrilled to have picked this up. I think it's a beautiful reprint of these issues in a gorgeous omnibus format. And speaking of the Fantastic Four, next on our haul, Fantastic Four by Mark Millar and Bryan Hitch Omnibus. This was a recent release in the last month or two, and something that was also a wishlist item for me, again being a Fantastic Four fan. I had an opportunity to read the first few issues of Millar's and Hitch's Fantastic Four run almost a decade ago now. I really loved it. I always wanted to read the rest of it, never really dreaming I'd see an omnibus edition one day. There are so many issues in this, relatively short-sized omnibus that I have not read yet, so I'm so eager to continue my dive through this run. Fans of the channel will know I recently reviewed the Ultimates Omnibus, also by Millar and Hitch. I think there's some similar DNA to that series in here as far as the visual style and storytelling kind of flow. It is very epic, cinematic in scope. I could easily see what I've read of this translated to the big screen almost seamlessly. It just has that kind of storytelling feel. It almost feels like you're reading a storyboard of just this incredible, incredible series. I've heard mixed things about the quality of this run as a whole, but I'm eager to read it for myself and make my own determinations here. Like I said, I read maybe the first 4 or 5 issues, but it's been years, so having an opportunity to revisit, I'm already an issue or two in, and there's so many things I had forgotten about, and I'm so eager to reach the end of this book. Hopefully review this sometime this month. I don't know how it happened. Actually, I do know how it happened. It was Jonathan Hickman's Fantastic Four, but basically over the last year or so, I've become such a huge fan of Fantastic Four. I've been devouring what I've read from the Silver Age, John Byrne stuff, again, the Hickman era, some of Wade, and now here I am with this. Oh my gosh, I also read the Fantastic Four Full Circle from Alex Ross in the last year. At any rate, I've become such a big fan, and this is such a great addition to the bookcase. Let me know if you've picked up this book. I'm definitely excited to jump in. Next up on our haul, Gwenpool Omnibus. Admittedly, this might seem like a strange pick, but this was another one I was really excited to get a copy of. This omnibus was released a couple months ago, and this was one that was on the list that I was hoping I'd have an opportunity to read. Gwenpool is not Gwen Stacy, nor is she some kind of Deadpool. It's actually this girl named Gwenpool, Poole, who is from presumably our universe where all the Marvel heroes are characters in comic books, which she's a big fan of, who has somehow fallen into the Marvel 616 universe. Because of that, she has a level of fourth wall breaking, knowing she's now in a comic book. She also has an enormous knowledge base on all of these Marvel characters, being such a big fan of all their comic book iterations. But I know, at least when we start this series, she almost approaches the Marvel Universe like some people approach the Grand Theft Auto video games, feeling like you're in this gigantic sandbox that has no real repercussions or anything like that. It's such an interesting and refreshing approach to the kind of meta-narratives and the breaking the fourth wall we sometimes see in comic books these days. I think it's a really fresh spin. I am also fascinated. This character, Gwenpool, only exists because there was a variant cover art kind of month where they were trying to showcase different Gwen Stacy's, kind of homaging to different characters within the Marvel Universe. And of course, someone decided to do a Gwen Stacy version of Deadpool. It was so popular, it got cosplayed so much that she eventually got her own series, and here we are with the Gwenpool Omnibus. So I'm only maybe 4 or 5 issues into this book now. I just got it fairly recently, but so far I have to say it is such an engaging and fun read. I know many people have told me that this run gets better and better as you go to an extent. I'm excited to read that for myself, and I think that this will go really nice on the bookcase alongside titles like the Unbeatable Squirrel Girl and the Howard the Duck Zdarsky era. I have this kind of modern comedic Marvel shelf now, and I'm kind of excited about it. And finally on our haul for May 2023, the Deadpool and Cable Omnibus from Marvel Comics. This is a series that I absolutely adored. I had an opportunity to read it again around a decade ago. I had all 3 volumes of the paperback Ultimate Collections for this run that showcased all of the issues. I really enjoyed it when I read it back then. I no longer have those comics in my possession, and when I heard that they were doing a reprint in this omnibus format, I was ecstatic. So to have this into my collection to revisit, I am, suffice it to say, very excited. I really enjoy both of these characters, and I know so much more about both of them now than when I did when I first read this series a decade ago. I'm very excited to see how I hope this still holds up after all this time. I'm interested to see in how my perceptions may have changed for this series as a whole. But overall, this is kind of a buddy comedy series, I would say, that pairs Cable and Deadpool, who are sort of inextricably linked to one another due to a mechanic we get in the first couple issues of the book. And because of that, they end up going through all of these misadventures together. It's a very kind of interesting pairing as their dispositions are quite different. We also have an incarnation of the character of Cable I've never really seen before or after this run, but he's immensely likable in this series, and I think Deadpool is used really well. We have a lot of comedy and kind of comedic moments, but he doesn't get obnoxious with it, and we actually see a surprising amount of depth and heart in the character of Deadpool that I think just really works. I really love the art throughout this. It's really frenetic, energetic, kind of animated, and it just really works. Like I said, I really liked this series when I first read it, and I'm so eager to revisit. So if you're interested in a review of this omnibus and this series in general, definitely stay subscribed, definitely check out the channel, and hopefully I'll drop it in the coming weeks or months. Dang, so excited to have this one. And that's going to do it for our May 2023 comic book haul video. This was a really fun month for me. I got some books that I've really wanted for some time, and so many that I'm so eager to visit for the first time and return to in some cases. Having another free comic book day opportunity this year was a ton of blast that I'm immensely thankful for. So thankful for the local comic book shops I was able to check out. Such good memories made, and I'm really eager to see what's ahead with some of the reading here. As always, I appreciate your comments and feedback on videos like these. I'd also love to hear what you've picked up recently, maybe in the month of May, or what you're hoping to pick up in the near future. Definitely would love great recommendations, as always, for great reads. And with that, I really think I'll just say, once again, thank you so much for watching, for taking your time to support me and this channel. You really make this comic book community online such a great place. Thank you so much, and until next time, this has been the Comic Book Report. Please don't forget to leave your like and your comment, and until next time, have a good one.